Stepping Stone wishes to acknowledge the Turrbal, Yagara, Kabi Kabi and Jimbara people as the traditional owners of the land where Stepping Stone now stands, and recognise this land has always been under their custodianship. We pay our respect to elders past and present and to emerging community leaders. The discussions and conversations within this podcast may touch upon sensitive topics related to mental health that may evoke strong emotions or trigger difficult memories. This podcast may contain explicit or coarse language. Listener discretion is advised.
Hello, and welcome to Side by Side, Stepping Stone Clubhouse's podcast towards better mental health.
Hi. You're joined by myself, Christine. I'm a writer, singer and advocate, and I usually go by the nickname of Noodle. And for the backstory to that nickname Noodle,
the Noodle story.
The Noodle story, yes. That's going to be reserved for the part of a future episode, so you'll need to stay tuned.
Yes, I do refer to you as Noodle for the rest of the episode and in real life as well. We thought, why change it?
Indeed, the whole podcast series.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm Christina. I'm a mental health support worker here at Stepping Stone Clubhouse, and Noodle and I will be your hosts. We're thrilled to be here. This has been a long time coming, but yeah.
So our initial debut podcast, I must reiterate, we'll be doing a number of things. We'll be introducing our podcast, of course, and Stepping Stone Clubhouse, and hope to include discussions about stigma around mental health, isolation, and the importance of community. Later on in the show, we'll have Michael C., a Stepping Stone member.
I'm Michael, like it was said. I've been a member at Stepping Stone. I can't even think how long it's been. I think it's about 14 years or something.
Wow.
And before I came to Stepping Stone, I was involved in a lot of jobs, a lot of different jobs, short-term jobs at times. And that, in hindsight, that was mainly to do with my mental health. It was never diagnosed until in my late 50s when it was first diagnosed, or mid-50s, sorry. But, like I said, I was going through a lot of different jobs, and this one time I had a small accident at work, and I was driving trucks. I couldn't even leave the house for 2 or 3 months afterwards. I just isolated. And then I finally got out of the house. But I couldn't get back to work. Just never thought I was ever going to work again. And I spent about 9 months working out how I was going to suicide. I'd had enough. I completely couldn't see anything in my life worthwhile living for, although I didn't want to encroach on family, friends and that, so I was working out a way so I could go without interfering with other people's lives. So still cared, but I'd had enough. Mm-hmm. Not of any one particular thing, of a multitude of things. So worked out the way, what I was going to do, and I decided to go for a drink, which was a cup of tea at Stone's Corner. And I'm sitting there having my cup of tea and thinking, I'll get on my way shortly. Next minute somebody showed up, and I don't know who they were, whether male, female. I was very much in a tunnel vision and very narrow field of vision, and they offered to take me to this place that they thought I'd benefit from, and I refused to get in the car, because I thought they might have hurt me. I'm going to suicide, and here they are. I'm worried about people going to hurt me. So I said, no, I'll drive and follow you, and they said, we'll come with you. So they got in the car with me, brave people, and they came up to this place here, which just looked like factories, in Holdsworth Street. and Stepping Stone is around the back. If you're coming here, we're in a complex, and so they walked me down to the corner, pointed me in the direction. I walked over and come through, walking through the place, and had a tour by a nice gentleman, Paul, and but I couldn't get in my head that this organisation ran by volunteering. I won't say my exact words, but they were very explicit as I was walking out of the clubhouse. And
we can only imagine.
yeah, well, I was just going, this place could not run by just people coming in here and volunteering, and that's what the clubhouse is about. It's about people come in, do what you want to do. You know, well, not what you want to do, but do as much as you need to. And if you feel like sitting and having a cup of coffee, just do that. Do whatever you want to do. But anyway, I went home and I was angry. I was sort of angry about people lying to me. And a few days later, I get a phone call and to come in, and I said, no, I'm not coming in. A day later, I got another phone call, and then another couple of days later, I got another phone call. By the way, don't give them your phone number. They'll never leave you alone.
You're never rid of us.
However, that finally did. I came in and I sat over in one corner there and had a cup of coffee. Absolute lousy bloody coffee it was too at the time. And I whinged and complained about that. And
how much was the coffee at that time, Michael?
look, it was bloody 50 cents, and I could have got a decent cup of coffee for $5 down the road. But anyway, so I got the coffee, and this went on for two or 3 months. And all of a sudden, this one bloke come along, and he's, I don't know, he's like a leprechaun. He's so happy, and how you going in my face? He said, what do you do? What's the coffee like? And I said, it's bloody terrible. And at that stage, he looked at me and he said, well, if you want a decent cup of coffee, get off your ass and come over and I'll show you how to make one. And then you can blame yourself for how it is.
Wow.
So away I went. Oh, by the way, that was the CEO at the time. He's a nice bloke. Yeah. Some people have mixed feelings about him, but he was a nice bloke. So I went back to sitting in my corner, getting up and making my coffee. Pay 50 cents for the honour of making a cup of coffee for yourself. But, well, it's gone up in price now. It's some stupid price now.
What?
$2 now.
$2.
Oh, my God.
Can you believe it?
No, I can't. I can't. And you, like I say, you get the choice of you can make it yourself, and somebody will show you how to make it. Everyone's only too keen to show people how to do things here, and that's what Clubhouse is about. But anyway, back to the story.
So then, how did it? You were coming in. You thought, I'm gonna sit here. I'm gonna try and enjoy my shit cup of coffee. But where did
that was a good cup of coffee. I was making it by then.
Oh, by then you had progressed to making your own, so it was more enjoyable. But so then what? How did your time at Clubhouse progress? How did your involvement then progress?
I drank coffee until one day I saw a staff member leaning up against the kitchen door and looked very frustrated and flustered and that. And I said, "What's the problem?" He said, "Oh, we've got this to make," and I can't even remember what it was, but it was just something on the menu there that somebody had thought of having, and he was flustered. He just couldn't work out where to start, what to do, and so I walked in the kitchen, had a bit of a look, and all I could see was spaghetti bolognese, so I went out and Googled bolognese, so I knew how to write bolognese on the board, and changed the menu to spaghetti bolognese. Sometimes happens at Steps, not all the time. But so him and I got stuck in. We chopped up the veggies and everything else and boiled the spaghetti and got all that going and that there. And everything was really on the boil, and the next minute there was about 20 people showed up to help.
Wow.
So they helped serve it. I just went out and sat there and waited to eat it. And it was one of the best meals I've ever had here, by the way.
Wow.
Well, I cooked it.
Yeah.
Of course it's going to be good. But that's what can happen at Steps, you know, like if you feel like you want to help, help. If you don't, well, you don't have to, you know.
Yeah.
Things will happen, and I have seen the occasional time where pizza has come in because there was nobody to help. In the kitchen. And pizza had come. But in that time, I'd done a transitional employment, which is commonly known here as a TE, but anyway, I'd done the transitional employment in cleaning, and I started applying for jobs, and I finished up spamming the whole of Brisbane, well, the whole of Southeast Queensland, Australia, looking for a job. And then one of the blokes who was working here said, well, are you really after a job, or what are you after? What are you really after? And I said, well, I need money. And he said, okay, you need money, but what are your skills? What can you do? And I said, well, I don't know what I can do. I'm not sure, you know, because I didn't want to go back to truck driving. So he went through and we looked at what skills I had, where they were transferable to, and one of the jobs that had come up at the time was a peer worker for Queensland Health. And my skills were transferable over to that, so I applied for a job and didn't get it. Finished up working for another company, and then 11 months afterwards, Queensland Health rang up and said, "Oh, there's a person left from that interview. Would you like a job?" And, yeah. So I finished up working there for 9 years and retired a couple of months ago.
Wow.
So I retired a couple of months ago. Now I'm trying to work out how the hell you retire.
What to do next?
Well, how to retire.
Yeah.
Like, for me, it's very stressful for me to get to that stage of retiring, and everyone says, oh, it's great, you know, you retire, you can just sit back, you do this, you do that. Yeah, you could, but for me, if I was to just sit back, then I would go back to 15 years ago. Not seeing anything in my life or what to do. So now I've got to work out what to do. And I'm lucky now with the support coordinator that I've got. She's been throwing ideas at me, and I've been coming up with ideas. So hopefully we'll work out something.
Michael, do you think this transition for people from a working life to retirement is oftentimes fraught with challenges?
Well, for me it is.
Yeah.
For me it is,
Okay.
and I see quite a few other people that have had a similar experience.
Yeah.
Some close friends of mine, they've just lost it. They've bought these travel homes and they start travelling, and then they realise it's not what it actually is. And then they finish up coming back and staying in caravan parks and showgrounds and that, where they can afford the rent, and they can't get back into a house again. They've sold the house they were in, and other people have bought boats and they've gone to live on boats, and they've finally worked out, well, I'm getting harder, and it's so much, you know, it's so hard to actually row the tender out and get into the yacht and that sort of thing. They're having heaps of trouble with it. And the worst part about it is no one wants to ask for help, or no one wants to be where they can find help. And I find that's the good part about Stepping Stone. You come in here and sit here and have a cup of coffee. Somebody's bound to come along and offer you to learn how to make the coffee or whatever, or come up with something for you to do, you know, come up with some idea. Or you'll come up with it for yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think being in this environment at times, no matter what stage you're at, no matter how much or how little you're wanting to get involved, there's always that opportunity there, whether you want to take it or not, and the opportunity will keep coming. The opportunity's not, a once-off, twice-off thing. Like you said, people will continue to annoy you and try and come up, and they're not going to necessarily give up if they get 1, 2, 3, 10 no's from you. They want to just keep that offer available.
Well, I certainly hope they do. If they don't, I'll be jumping up and down anyway if I see somebody give up on someone.
Yeah, absolutely.
And because that's a thing I'd done to myself. I gave up on myself. So yeah, my choice. But for somebody else to give up on me, that's a horrible thing to think of. That somebody's come in here and somebody's just give up on them. Or too much.
Yeah.
It's too much. It's
No, gosh,
and
no.
I haven't seen it.
No.
And if I had, I would have been talking about it now.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's actually helped me so much in my life. It's gave me 9 years of employment. It's gave me the skills to advocate for myself and for other people. And I'm still getting support from through the NDIS for certain things. For getting out of the house, I still have trouble walking out of the house. There's times where I just sooner sit in the house and, what's that old saying? Sit under the bench and rock. In preference to going out in the world. I have trouble just going for a drive sometimes, and that is something I'm looking forward to doing. Just having support so I can just go for a drive somewhere.
Yeah.
So it certainly has been a learning experience. But I think of so many people that just get to the stage of not being able to get out of the house, and they're just there.
Yeah.
And family don't understand it. Family just think, oh, what's wrong? You've just gone lazy. You're just this, you're just that.
Yeah.
Everyone wants to throw their little labels on you, whereas it is, I'm just not coping well. People just don't cope well sometimes.
No.
If there were one thing that you would say to people listening and that can in some way resonate with your story or identify or know of somebody who is, what's one thing that you would tell them that you've learnt along your journey?
On my journey, I suppose, all my life I've lived a fairly active sort of life, and I think I got to the stage where I just I didn't have anything in my life. There was no activities. There was nothing happening in my life.
Nothing to look forward to?
Nothing to look forward to. For me, life's always been like a roller coaster, ups and downs. And there was a stage there where I had 12 months of just down, and it just kept going. So the thing with it is, I think if you want stimulation, it's a stepping stone here is a great place to come to, because you will get life stimulation, and with that, you get the circulation back in your mind again, and it starts working again, and you start thinking about things that you can do instead of all the things that you can't do.
Oh, I like that. I
love that
perspective. What can you do instead of what you can't?
That shift is so important.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
Well, that's it. For somebody that's actually been thinking about suicide for 6-9 months, and then another 3 months later, actually making a cup of coffee for myself, and then a couple of months after that, it all started with that kitchen, with helping in the kitchen and that. And it went from that to being upstairs and helping people apply for jobs and that sort of thing. And even when I got a job, I was still coming in here and still helping with in the employment and education side of things. The other good thing about it is when I did get the job at Queensland Health, an opportunity come up for me. Whoops, an opportunity, ran a tongue. The opportunity come up for me to go overseas to a international mental health conference, which is a Clubhouse Clubhouse International. And I went over there and...
Where was that, Michael?
In Denver, Colorado.
Oh.
So went over there and got to experience other clubhouses from around the world and what their ideas were to do with mental health. And come back here and thought to myself, well, we are doing extremely well here at this clubhouse here, because some of the other clubhouses, they're working under health systems and that sort of thing, and yeah, it was just so different. Like the funding that we've been able to get here in Australia has been tremendous compared to some of them. And it'll be interesting to see what it's like now, since COVID's been around the world, but definitely the clubhouse here was operating extremely well. And so that was a fantastic experience to be able to have.
I'm sure it was.
To do that. So there's experiences like that. One of the other good things about the clubhouse here, we're an international training centre for clubhouses, and we have clubhouses from different parts of the world come here, and you can participate there, helping them learn the model of clubhouse and listening to their model of the clubhouse from their country. So there's lots of things that you can get involved in with the clubhouse here.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you, Michael. That has been such an amazing story and really, really interesting. And your whole journey has been really amazing, and it's been beautiful to hear the different stages and the different ways that Clubhouse has been a part of that. And we just really appreciate you coming on and sharing.
You're welcome. So if you want to hear the uncensored part with the actual bleeps taken out, come in and have a chat. I'm only too willing to have a chat with you. Thanks very much for having me.
Thank you very much, Michael. Hope you have a great day.
So Stepping Stone is a member-based community organisation. We address the serious impacts of mental illness. We are a community of people dedicated to one another's recovery. So that's a little synopsis.
A bit of an elevator pitch, if you like. A bit more about the podcast. We're going to be making this a regular podcast, and as we mentioned, about mental health, and we're going to include discussions amongst our hosts, primarily Christina and myself, the Stepping Stone community and guests, and our purpose or aims are we're about reducing the mental health stigma and building awareness around mental health challenges, or helping people just to feel that little bit less alone.
Yeah, absolutely. That's our motto, our
mission statement.
Absolutely. So why side by side? Why, I guess when thinking of the podcast name, we really wanted it to reflect Stepping Stone Clubhouse. We wanted it to reflect, how we run, and I guess the key aspects of our organisation.
It's actually a cornerstone framework philosophy for the whole international clubhouse model, and
Yeah.
And it means that all the work is done is carried out by members and paid staff. The notion of working side by side, working together.
Yeah.
Things are done together.
Absolutely.
And that oftentimes you can't distinguish between staff and members. Just to give you a bit of an anecdote, in the early days when I joined Stepping Stone Clubhouse, and one of our staff people who was doing a work placement through their university degree had confided in me at some point that he thought our program director was a member and that I was paid staff, not the other way around.
And doesn't that happen often?
It does.
It's really, and it's something we actually pride ourselves on, because that's how we like it. We want everybody to be equal. We want everybody to we want visitors at least, to come in and not be able to differentiate, because everybody's doing the same work. Everybody's working for the clubhouse, doing tasks to run the clubhouse. People don't, if you're not familiar with the clubhouse model, it's probably something that is not heard often. It's not, there aren't a lot of organizations where, people are called members and vice versa, or, it's always client, or it's always participant, or it's always patient,
Those words, client, participant, and patient even more so, have certain connotations that they're loaded terms, and it just...
Yeah, they are.
The word member is a very a positive
and it's like
name, and
it's a neutral name.
It's a kind of
don't you reckon?
neutral,
It's just quite neutral. There's no assumptions associated with it,
or even a more positive bent, because
yes,
if you talk about membership in clubs, if you talk about sorry. If you talk about membership in clubs, you think of sporting clubs and so forth. The membership, they're active.
Yes.
They're not passive. And that's the same for Stepping Stone members. We're encouraged, and indeed we are active.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's something that we prioritize, is having that active membership and really having that that participation. One of our sayings is, you are wanted, needed, and expected. We hear that multiple times a day, because everybody really is wanted, needed, expected. The clubhouse can't run without that, and the work does not get done without that. And I think something to sort of segue into the next section that we want to talk about is the reason why we love the term member, and why the clubhouse model in general is based off that membership community, is really to reduce stigma. Because like you said, those other terms like patient, client, they are loaded terms, and pretty much everything we do is to take away the stigma of mental health and really make this a safe space where people can talk about what they're experiencing in their mental health or in their illnesses, where it's not something that's ever taboo. It's not something that's ever there's no shame around it.
Yeah. So at Stepping Stone, there's no place for stigma to exist around people with the lived experience around mental illness, and we do this by ensuring people know that their diagnosis, it doesn't define who they are.
No, absolutely.
And it's about the right information, not misinformation or disinformation around mental illness.
And I think that something that's common as well is, people often don't necessarily have that support in their personal lives.
No.
It's in society at large really doesn't support people with disability or people with mental health.
Yeah.
So, it's so important that people have a space that they can go to where they feel that, if they're not getting it personally or, in the community. So we've thought, we're going to create our own community, and we're going to create, our own, our own organization that really pushes for that.
Yes. In point of fact, Stepping Stone Clubhouse emerged from that particular need that wasn't being addressed. It started in New York just after World War II, and there was a group of people saw that returned service personnel weren't being supported, after serving for their country during the war, but they were left languishing, and so it's Stepping Stone Clubhouse has a very long history and a very valuable tradition that we are truly honoured to keep going.
Yeah, absolutely. And really, we just want people to feel like they're a part of something. That's what, that's what I think probably, from what I've heard from members and from the conversations we've had, that's a real driving force for what, keeps people coming back. That they feel like they can contribute. They feel like they can, really just be a part of something greater and have that contribution, especially if they're not working at the moment. I mean, that's a totally separate topic that we will talk about at length in future episodes, but it's about really helping to combat the loneliness. An important point that I wanted to cover from, we recently did an evaluation where we had an external company come in and really evaluate our services and evaluate, the impact that we have on members' lives.
Mm-hmm.
And from the evaluation report, one of the findings was over a 3 to 6 month period, new members experience a meaningful reduction in hospitalization and a meaningful increase in functional progress.
Wow.
So I thought that was just amazing because it really does sum us up, and then there are statistics and the actual data to prove it, which is amazing. So overall, our members experience more satisfaction with their lives and significantly higher in these specific domains, which were mental health, employment status, financial status, leisure activities, and life as a whole today. So that brings us to the end of our very first episode.
Woohoo!
So exciting. Well, thank you so much for joining us and listening in. You can find us in Coorparoo, as we mentioned earlier. We are at Unit 9/61 Holdsworth Street, and we're just inside the Coorparoo Business Centre. So come in for a tour. You can come in at any time of the day, 8:30 to 4:30, Monday to Friday. And no appointment needed, no referral needed. Just come on in and check us out. We are on social media, of course. You can find us at steppingstone_podcast. And you can find us on Facebook by searching Stepping Stone Clubhouse. We also have an Instagram that is just for the podcast, and that is called Side by Side the Podcast, one word, on Instagram as well. So, yeah, come check us out over the social medias.
Yeah, and this is just the beginning for Side by Side. You can look forward to future episodes where we'll be talking about, we'll have more personal stories of recovery. We'll talk about coping strategies and self-care, building resilience and hope, and heaps more things to mention at this point. We'd love to hear from you. So if you have any topic suggestions, questions, comments, feedback, or you would like to share your story, then please email us at employedssteppingstoneclubhouse.org.au.
Thanks so much for listening. We are your hosts, Christina and Noodle. Don't forget to also check out the show notes for other important information. Thanks again to our executive producer, Lucy, artist and tech assistant, Tracy, and sound producers, Hassan, James, and Art. We will see you side by side next time. Bye.
At the conclusion of this episode, we want to remind listeners that you're not alone. If you or someone you know is struggling, please reach out for support. Remember, help is always available, and it's okay to seek support. 24 hours, 7 days, Lifeline 13114. Suicide Callback Service 1300 659 467. Beyond Blue 1300 224 636. Men's Line Australia 1300 789 978. Kids Helpline 1800 551 800. 13 Yarn 139276.